Future Forward PSU Leadership in 2047. This elite gathering brings together notable CMDs from various PSUs to share strategic insights, innovative ideas, and experiential learnings. Our moderator for this session is Mr. Abhijit Sinha, and he will guide the discussion with our esteemed panelists. I request Mr. Sinha to join us on the stage. I now request Dr. P.N. Sharma, Managing Director, Rajasthan Electronics and Instruments Limited. Can we have a round of applause, please? It's an energetic morning. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, Chairman and Managing Director, Telecommunications Consultants India Limited. Mr. Sanjay Kumar Verma, Chairman and Managing Director, Macon Limited. Mr. Santosh Kumar Jha, Chairman and Managing Director, Konkan Railway Corporation Limited. Commodore Amit Rastogi, Chairman and Managing Director, National Research Development Corporation. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh from MNEX. And Mr. Sankalp Mohanty, Partner, Delight India.
Thank you. जितना ज़बरदस्त पावरफुल पोटेंशियल पैनल मुझे दिया गया है इसके लिए टाइम ज़रूर ही कम पड़ेगा सो विदाउट एनी ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट एंड विदाउट एनी डिले वार्म वेलकम टू ईच वन ऑफ यू हु आर कमिंग फ्रॉम डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स डिफरेंट PSUs डिफरेंट एक्सपर्टीज़ एंड माइक्रो इकोनॉमीज़ दो कॉन्टेक्स्ट हम लोग सेट करेंगे एक वन वी विल गिव यू एन ब्रीफ आइडिया ऑफ वेयर on a very fast forward note so that what we spoke previously in the beginning, you have the more deep dive detailing into multiple sectors. This would conclude and then we will be able to have a conversation starting from what we have on the screen is completely agnostic to the sector, infrastructure and green energy. It takes us to a different level of competence in terms of economy and also takes us to a different level of competence in terms of PSU. Next is government have its own mobility and mobility is part of each one of you. Any one of you and every sector of microeconomy would have two things in common, power and mobility. So that's the second vision we will be able to take forward and discuss. Third is when it comes to invest. So third point which we will be discussing today is how do we finance capital intensive projects when it comes to a large trunky and heavy capex projects. Couple of challenges that we all have that when we are growing to a different level we are also becoming a pollutant country, pollutant city, pollutant state. So how do we look at that scenario? Reform and also development of climate financing, which is a key area which we might be able to touch upon, and I'm sure each one of you in your organization has many expertise to speak on it, and we would like to learn more about it. Couple of public-private partnerships like what 5,500 kilometer e-highways is being done. All of you would have a very interesting perspective that I would like to know from you. So that's my takeaway from the esteemed panels. This is expansion route which you can see on the screen, which has recently started making Bharatmala and Sagarmala electric highway. It takes us ahead of Germany, which used to be sometime a very fast forward country in terms of electric corridor. Our Prime Minister's vision for mobility, which we all follow, 7 Cs, I'm sure you must have heard from the MOVE Summit, and then the index and indices. This we have spoken last year, and it is becoming very difficult for us as a country to fight with these indices which are sometimes painting our nation into wrong pictures, wrong colors. And these indices are definitely the narrative which Europe wanted to put on it. How PSUs will be able to bring indices in a different level, on a different magnitude is what we will be able to discuss. Because you are the one who have data to tell the world कि तुम्हारे यहाँ ज़्यादा गाड़ी है, हमारे पास population ज़्यादा है, transaction ज़्यादा होता है. So what are the scale and sample on which you build those, I would say bluntly, fake indices globally. healthcare and all I would like to skip, so I'm just moving ahead to take you to competence which India has developed over a period of time to show the work which Germany managed to do. This is what we spoke in the previous conversation, and the India's technical advancement in terms of mobility, decarbonization, COP 26, 27, 28, 9 agenda. These are the two trials on your screen which you are seeing, 2020. Now next slide will tell you 2021 and 24. Left side is Germany, right side is India. And then this is going to be the most interesting slide, which is going to be telling you the cost. Yes, sorry. 3.5 to 400. So here, if you compare Germany and India, 22 crore rupees per kilometer e-highway, the corridor which is their PSUs are making, Scania and Siemens and all companies in a PPP. India's e-highway costing 1 crore per kilometer. So lot of things on our plate. I would like to start with our esteemed panelists to give a small introduction about their organization, about themselves, the portfolio which they have been handling, and the area of interest which they want to bring in the conversation, so that we have a navigation that out of all these topics, what would be their interest area. We'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Dr. P.N. Sharma, Managing Director, REIL. REIL is established in 1981, and we are in three segments basically, in the renewable energy and this electronics for dairy and IT enabled solutions. So luckily we are in the areas which are very important in these days, and recently we have introduced the electric vehicle charging infrastructure. In 80 cities we are working, and already we have established around 500 numbers, and we are will install around 1500 more stations in Pan India. So in renewable energy we are working since 1984 and have a big installations around 2.5 villages in India. So our presence is there, and we are now moving towards the IoT and AI based solutions with the skilling up the youth. I understand that the strength of the country is the youth, and channelizing of the youth is the biggest challenge in our country. So we have started this skilling up and this training center in our Jaipur center for remote pilot, drone pilots for dairy sector, for EV sectors and other areas. This is the brief introduction.
Wonderful, sir. Very promising and very potential for further discussion. I'll have a follow-up question with you, but let me have the introduction with the next honorable speaker.
Good morning, everyone. TCL is a company under Ministry of Communication set up in 1978 to create IT and telecom infrastructure. And since our inception, we have been playing significant role in creating telecom and IT infrastructures. In telecoms, whether it's broadband connectivity to far-flung areas, whether it is providing connectivity to defense, we are the one there to do that. In IT, some of our focus area is leveraging IT technology to provide qualitative education to far-flung and remote areas of the country and to improve the quality of education. At the same time, in e-health, we are playing an important role to create robust digital infrastructures for enabling qualitative healthcare facilities in remote areas. TCL is successfully running telemedicine, tele-education projects in more than 34 countries in Africa since 2006. With this brief introduction, thank you.
Extensive, wide coverage, and this is what we are looking forward in the Viksit Bharat vision, that India becomes a place which not only gives technology, product and services, but almost a whole package of solution to countries which are today reluctant to take these things from China, and also Europe is something which is out of their pocket. So great, and welcome to you, sir. Next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sankalp Mahanti. I'm a partner with Deloitte. I have the good fortune of partnering with a number of public sector enterprises on areas of leadership development and transformation. So leadership will be a key differentiator for us as we move forward. The world is changing, the world in which the public sector operates is changing, and we see many public sector leaders being absolutely at the forefront of driving this change, and happy to share some of those perspectives as and when those are relevant.
Thank you and welcome.
Hello. I'm S.K. Verma, CMD Micon. Micon as a company is basically into design engineering consultancy and some EPC project. The recent forays, of course, is in operation and maintenance of steel plant also. To say something on the subject which you have flagged, we are really proud on two aspects which we have been doing for last 2-3 years. One is bringing the technology and the system for producing all the value-added steel, and that has been done in record time, and it's with telling effects. The secondly, on decarbonization, we have taken up on a very ambitious project of using hydrogen in DRI, using hydrogen in blast furnaces. That is going to change the landscape of steel making in India. And you know that we have been, the steel industry has been a polluting industry, more so in India. So that's a very strategic move. On Micon foray, let me tell you that we have been providing technology in all the core units of the steel plants. And I'm really proud to say that we have almost replaced imported technology in the area of blast furnace.
Okay.
And you can understand last 15 years we have built 26 blast furnaces, all on your own technology. So with this government, a very serious effort is being made to probably to reduce the dependence on import even for bigger installations.
Right.
And I'm sure some policy shift you will be witnessing very soon.
Very, very glad to have you, sir, on the panel, because world now is asking for a solution to CBAM compliances and also the green steel. Coming, if on the compliances, if you will see, a lot of companies who are making steel in India are continuously being haunted by something is going to come up and you will not be able to export to majority of the countries. So you could be giving a very, I can come back to you with a question, but welcome back. I have been posted once in Jharkhand when I was in bank and I was heading Bihar, Jharkhand and Odisha. So got an opportunity to see Micon plants. Very good to have you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I am Santosh Jha. I am Chairman and Managing Director of Konkan Railway Corporation. I belong to 92 batch of civil services, and after having spent 21 years in the ministry in various positions of Ministry of Railways, I went on a deputation to a logistics company, which is again a Government of India company, Container Corporation of India. I was there for almost 7 years, and that changed my entire perspective about the logistics as well as the marketing. In railways, we hardly do marketing because demand is more than the supply, so there is no need to say so it crudely. 3 years before, I switched over to Konkan Railway Corporation Limited as Director of Operations and Commercial, and for last 1 year, I'm heading the organization. This is one of the most beautiful railways. If you have not visited, please do visit. From Mumbai to Mangalore, passing through Ratnagiri, Goa, Manipal, Udupi, Sindhudurg, lovely places to visit. But at the same time, most difficult terrain of Indian railways. In 740 kilometers having 91 tunnels, more than 560 cuttings, 1900 bridges, and high embankments. Very tough railway to operate. And it is the only organization of Ministry of Railway, Government of India, only PSU, which not only runs trains, but also does a lot of projects. Commercial turnover is hardly 40% of the organization, 60% we earn from various projects. I will not say much. The only project that perhaps all of you know, which Konkan Railway has done, is the world's largest iconic Chenab Bridge, which Honorable PM is very soon going to start the train from Katra to Srinagar. Those were the dreams, that traveling from Jammu to Srinagar in 5 hours, Katra to Srinagar in 3 hours. It is going to be a reality in this month itself, when Honorable PM will flag off. In fact, 19th April was the scheduled date, but somehow it has been postponed for a week or 5-6 days. So that is the kind of projects we do. This organization has an experience of creating almost 140 kilometers of tunneling, which no organization in India has done. Globally, we are known for tunnels, bridges, viaducts in Himalayan and Alpine territory. We are present globally also in few countries doing various projects, and the entire Nepal Railway is being run by us.
Nepal Railway?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I'll have a big follow-up question. With
sure.
you.
And you said that we should indicate on what subject we would like to speak or touch upon. So definitely logistics and especially container logistics, I would like, because I think it will be of your area of interest also. Thank you, Abhijit.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful to have you.
Yeah, very good morning. I am Commodore Rastogi, Chairman and Managing Director, National Research Development Corporation. And before I say something about self and NRDC, I must compliment organizers for having done a wonderful research on all of us and having presented kind of details, which I think we sort of left it behind. So thanks for reviving it. And when I was discussing with Professor Goyal in the morning, and since he's Bhishma Pitama of Telecom, and he's been in the circuit for long, he was mentioning that you must expand the mnemonic NRDC so that the people get to know more. So it is incumbent on me to give you brief details on National Research Development Corporation. I think amongst all of us, NRDC is one of the oldest organizations, which was created in 50s, in 1953, along with other CSIR labs. And the basic mandate primarily at that point of time was, the vision was beautiful. The labs would do the research and development. Then there is an organization which will do technology translation and commercialization. And then there is an entity which will do the production part of it. So that's where the NRDC took its role of technology commercialization and IPR portfolio management. So that's been the role which has remained all through for all the 70 years. But over a period of time, I think this is a topic which one can possibly discuss, that with times, should you remain static, or should your approach be dynamic in nature, and how should you change with time? And since we are looking at Viksit Bharat 2047, so what is the kind of transformation which should be brought about in the organization itself to remain contemporary and also to contribute to that vision? So we repurposed, I wouldn't say repurposed, we primarily brought in kind of structure to remain contemporary and also to serve this the startup ecosystem, which is has taken a beautiful shape in the country and contributing to the technology portfolio. And we besides the R&D work, which was used to be the domain of higher education institutes, IITs, NITs, or public funded research institutes, now it has moved to the startup. And they are complementing that role of doing research and development. And so how they can possibly be supported, how the PSUs possibly can make use of this evolving ecosystem of startups is what we have worked upon. And I'm happy to share that in last 3 years, we have created an ecosystem wherein we incubate startups. We provide them the seed funding, we provide them the IP portfolio assistance. We help them with your technology development. There are certain schemes of Government of India. There is this seed funding which is provided, technology development, the process they are taken through. We have established certain facilities which helps them in taking their product to the market. So we are creating that system, but NRDC is being, I would say, a small Schedule C company. How can possibly it serve the purpose of other PSUs? So this is a point for discussion, that technology is is the way forward. And without that, I think all of us have acknowledged that this is something which will remain, I think, the backbone for all of us if we have to, serve the vision of 2047. So, should you develop the technology by yourself, or should you get this, or basically in-house R&D versus the R&D complemented through utilization of startups is what one can possibly look at, and how to bring the startup into your own ecosystem.
Right.
We have an example which I can possibly share as to how PSUs can make use of this through an RDC, which we have done a POC with one of the PSUs.
Definitely, wonderful message that you've given, and I will definitely give you a wonderful question, which deserves your position and your challenging position again, I would say, is because a lot of startups today are in steering mode because of the regulations that they have overlapped. There are a lot of learnings that the startups have to have from the PSUs. And I think this is the right time if you want to create a very strong, robust and stable framework of economic development based on the technologies in different microeconomic sectors from where the startups are coming. There should be a direct mentorship between PSUs to tell them that what has made PSUs to stand robust over a period of time, and this is a time when we should be talking about it. So let me take an introduction. We are running little behind time, so we'll ask our speakers to be precise. Thank you.
Good morning all. I am Sanjeev Kumar Singh. I am Vice President Corporate Affairs and Communication, Amnex Info Technologies Limited. And Amnex is a Indian technology company, and we are doing lots of work with the government in the areas of digital transformation and artificial intelligence through IoT. And we are working mainly with the PSUs, different central government and state government. And we are leaders in mobility, agri-stacks, smart city, safe city, and we are doing golden record for the Maharashtra state, which is highly appreciated by the government of India and the state government.
Thank you and welcome. So this brings us close to half of the conversation where we know from which background and what expertise you come. But I beg to differ on the format because I usually do not accept to moderate panels until and unless I find people who are coming with me has a significant impact to create on a period of time. In this context, the questions which I'm going to ask you are definitely going to be the real world questions, and are definitely not going to be the usual question which you have been listening into panels and discussions. You may choose to answer, you may not choose to answer, but at least give some perspective about it, because these all are real world challenges and we cannot duck out of it. So first question which I'm going to ask you, sir, is electric mobility over a period of last 12 years has not been seen profitable, viable, bankable and assetizable or monetizable. Because of certain reasons, sometime vehicle does not match, sometime charger does not match. I was given charge of making electric highway prototype for 500 km in 2019, and we then conducted 2 trials on Delhi, Jaipur and Delhi, Agra. Then we submitted it to our Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highway, and now it is into expansion mode due to acceptance from the Parliament in 14th Lok Sabha. And now we are building an 5,500 km e-highway. What is your perspective of, in last 10 years, what are the key areas where REIL has worked and what you think that we should not continue with? One, I can share from my perspective, but I want you to add more to it, is when we are doing planning, we plan it on assumptions that people will buy vehicle. Instead of that, now we are more into captive controls. And I'm happy to share with the audience that National Highway EV has 30% utilization from day one. National average is only 3 to 5%. 30% lesser price vehicle because you only buy car, you don't buy battery. Utilization of infrastructure is again 30%, and the break even of the total asset is 36 to 40 months. This is what you would have thought and you would have dreamed years back, but now we are living. But you have done a lot of work before us also. Let's add to it.
As you mentioned, the hypothecation was the main problem that was derived by the concerned ministries. So we start 6 years back, and we install initially 3 charging stations, then 200, then 270, then some 100 more. What we was feeling, again it is this egg and chicken theory. The electrical vehicle was waiting for the charging infrastructure, and the charging infrastructure was looking for the density of the electric vehicles. So the assumptions by the ministries or by the government was not in line with the actual infrastructure and actual density of the vehicles. We have started with 200 systems, and we incorporate the CPO concept with us, because ministry has given us some grant for that this EV charging purpose, but it was not included the upstream infrastructure, that is electric connections. So we add the CPO concept initially, charge point operators. They have some assumptions, and they have take some funds from the startup. They are basically startups, and they raise some fund in anticipation that this density will be like this as per assumptions, and they are not matched, and some of them are failed. And our program was also affected by this, and the government expectations was not fulfilled. Then we asked the government to give us the full-fledged grant or the support, so that it can be initiated for their expectation level, or initially for 4 or 5 years, so that it can be matched. So the gap was there, but now since last year we are feeling that the density is okay, and the infrastructure is also in satisfactory mode.
So it's moving towards profitability and...
No, not right now. It will take 2 to 3 years. After that, it will be profitable business.
Wonderful. 2 to 3 years to an asset, and which is on the mobility. And I'm sure these are capital intensive. These are heavy duty chargers, DC chargers, also have a lot of infrastructure in the grid. Yes. Do you see any need of upgradation to the grid side or to the uptime side?
Yes, I'll come to this point. As per targets of the government, by 2030, there will be 30% of the electric vehicles, but our transmission lines and our grid is not designed for this purpose. So we are suggesting for the this localized power stations. We can say we have introduced a net zero concept for the electric vehicle charging stations, so that they locally generate the power. They store the power, and they can use this power in the night times and in day times also. So there should not be any load or failure in the transmission line and the grid, because our grid and these transmission lines are not designed for such purpose of to meet such load. So this will be the requirement of government and for the organization. We are handling such situations.
Wonderful. So I think to add on here, India would have, and we are prototyping it, so I have some detail to share with you, would have 3G charging stations, which are third generation from petrol pump, and second generation with one charger or flex fuel, LNG, CNG, and third generation is hydrogen, electric, and then future fuels. These 3G charging stations approximately to have a dispensing power of around 3200 kilowatt hour, and they are divided into 800 kilowatt hour 4 compact substations, which are solid state transformers, which we are piloting now, and they will be able to be charged by solar, wind, and hydrogen micronuclear reactors. So I'm sure we'll have time to...
I'll interrupt in this. This wind is a limited options, because it...
Not the wind, that one. The wind which is on the divider while crossing the vehicle. It's a small wind turbine.
But the hydrogen and this storage
Very
will be the good
expensive.
combination. But
Right now it's very expensive, but looking forward on the infrastructure side, we should be ready for at least next 50 years, because the infrastructure should not go irrelevant. Sir, coming to you, lot of innovation in terms of communication, digital infrastructure, V2X, V2C, and also to, like, if we go anywhere, we have to be on the internet, we have to be on data. Our societies are with the sensors, with the barriers, FASTag, GNSS tolling. What is the future that you see today that is very, very much required for all our devices, vehicle, and things which are using and consuming internet should be able to perform in the sync and aspirations and ambitions that India have.
See, for coming time, I think the wireless technology will continue to dominate the connectivities. Whether it's 5G technology right now, which is being talked about to give massive machine-to-machine connectivity or high throughput or low latency applications, or even it's 6G in future. So wireless will continue to be a cost-effective solutions, fulfilling the need of different segments. At the same time, optical fibers, which will act as a backbone to this last mile wireless connectivity, will play its own important role. And to have a unified infrastructure so that you don't require to lay separate ducts for optical fiber cable, I think that's the important part. That while we are creating road infra, why don't create a fiber infra also along with the road, so that it become a digital highway along with the road highway or along with the e-highway.
Sir, any aspiration that you want to give to PSUs to join hands? Because I think somebody, Goel Sahab has said very well, that if your basic internet, which is the fast and robust internet, and most of the locations, most of the position is underperformed, then lot of complications which we see. And giving a basic fast and robust internet is not an easy thing in India. You are giving 3G, 4G, 5G, and now we will enter into the era of 6G. Without help of our PSUs who have maximum bandwidth, feet on the ground, it is not possible. What is your prescription to PSU Summit?
See, there is a lot of scope of synergy among PSUs. For example, a GAIL laying the pipeline, if it can join hand with a telecom company to lay optical fiber cable along with the pipelines, it will not only reduce the infra cost, but it will improve the reliability of infra also. Same way, the municipal corporation laying jal board pipelines or sewer lines, along with that, if you can lay the fiber infra also, or national highway authorities building up the road. So if telecom infra also can be built up along with the road infra, definitely it will minimize the cost, it will bring a lot of synergies, and it will improve the quality of service as well, and avoid frequent digging and unplanned creation of infrastructure.
We look forward to it. That must happen. And for audiences, since I have committed that we are going to share Modi Economics 3.2, the version of the transformation. On this conversation, I want to add with each speaker one of the work which I shared with Sir, and then the next conversation which is going to add upon exactly with your in continuation of what we spoke, is India के पास एक जनरेशन थी जब आप गाड़ी को रोक के पर्ची कटाने के लिए टोल का जाते थे. Then it came FASTag. Today, now we have completed the GNSS tolling pilots on Dwarka Expressways also and couple of more states. Very soon there will be no toll plazas, there will be no stopping, slow down, and you will be able to frequently move from one place to another place, because vehicle and infrastructure both will be able to speak to each other in a very organized manner, and we will be able to get to know when, where, and how much highway you have managed to use. And this all will happen in real time. So you will be offered quarterly, annual packages for your movement, and you will be able to pay from your wallet. This is exactly what Europe does and what Dubai does today. So moving ahead, what is the role, sir, to next speaker, thank you, and to do all this, what is the role of consulting agencies? Homegrown consulting agencies, foreign-grown consulting agencies, and also to give, I would say, I would quote Prime Minister when he given this mantra of reform, perform, transform. He clearly mentioned that, Abhijit, and to a lot of people who were there, is it's not the deficit of people who want to do reform. Lot of people want to say, ye theek nahi ho raha, wo theek nahi ho raha, ye acha nahi chalta. That all are the creep of reform. Transformation is something everybody want. ऐसा होना चाहिए, इसके जैसा दिखना चाहिए, ये चलना चाहिए. The only word missing between reform and transform is the perform. Nobody was wished to get into the dirty job of procurement, to piloting, to doing technical trial runs, failures and failures and failures, and finally a success is the word in between reform and transformation is the perform. Consulting agencies come here. You represent a good one, a big one, and you have seen over a period of time how consulting has changed from only giving advices and becoming and acting like a think tank to entering into transformation, trade, communications, and a lot of economic affairs and a lot of economic reforms which actually result to ground. What is your take is where we are heading and what is expected to be?
Sure, thank you. Just before that, what you just talked about in terms of the way we're revisiting how we look at tolls, I read about it this morning and I was absolutely blown away. Can't wait to see that fall into place. It's just such an incredible coincidence that you just mentioned it. I just happened to read about it this morning.
Thank you.
Role of consulting firms. Look, I think the role of consulting, like you said, has changed a lot from providing advice and walking away to having much more skin in the game and being part of implementation exercises, to actually being there on the ground working with clients, public or private, to bring to life any design recommendations that they might have. Right? Broadly, I see consulting firms playing following roles. One is continue to bring to bear what's happening in the market, best practice, emerging practice. I think that's one role that I see them playing, which has also been a traditional role. The second is accelerate innovation and technology adoption. I think this is, I believe, a key role that firms, consulting firms can play by partnering with the public sector to create pilots, to test out pilots, and therefore see how we can enhance technology adoption. Right. So I think that's a second. The third is provide support with actual implementation of initiatives on the ground. So there's a number of firms who run PMUs, who run program management units, but also other kinds of interventions where you have feet on the street working day to day with the public sector, with fantastic people who work within the public sector to actually drive change, drive transformation, drive implementation on the ground. So I would say these are the 2 or 3 things that perhaps would be the role of the consulting firms to be able to bring to bear. Apart from, I think the fourth would be policy, thinking about what policy changes need to be brought in and providing that content and research as well.
So policy, once upon a time, industry used to go ahead the policy, and policy has to run and match the industry speed. Now policy goes ahead and industry has to match the speed.
Yeah.
In this, to us who have to do ease of doing business pilot for emerging technologies, most of them who don't have a rule book, who do not have standards, specifications, certifying processes, these are hydrogen, drone. Lot of these pilots and lot of these emerging technologies require a certain amount of courage. No matter how much, वो कहते हैं ना कि आप कितनी भी मेहनत कर लो, सौतेला बेटा सौतेला ही रहेगा. So being a technocrat, we have to listen whole life that in front of bureaucrats who have taken birth from UPSC, it is very difficult to enter into their space and tell them that this is a work which need to be done now. How do you see a consulting agency like yours to change this scenario? Many of the PSUs, many of the international agencies to join us hand to tell that this is the policy which we need to shut down. This is not working, this is not helping. And it is not only the job of ministers and ministries and parliamentary affairs that they put and bill for everything. It is a job of all of us to work together and tell everybody that this policy is not helping. How aggressive you think we need to take? I am in an activism mode, so I can be more aggressive because obviously वो हमें सुनना भी पड़ता है. Over to you.
I think the following, right? To build momentum for any change initiative is a key activity, right? And I think what we consulting firms can and should be doing is partnering with people like you towards thinking about what policy changes need to be made, but also helping create the case for it. Nobody wants to resist change for the sake of it, right? There is if there is resistance that exists, it exists because there's some ways of working, there's going to be an impact. Sometimes it's hard to visualize the impact as well, right? So I think the role that firms like us have to play is to help visualize what is the impact that might emerge from policy changes, preempt those, but also help create buy-in for it, right? Now, buy-in from showcasing use cases, buy-in by partnering on pilots, things like that. But yeah, I think that's what we need to be able to do together better, which is provide input, but also create buy-in for changes by helping identify what are the challenges which might be causing that resistance, and therefore how
Right.
can we overcome this.
So I wanted you to exactly reach to it, not the exact point which you, obviously it comes naturally, that the resistance. And from each speaker, as I have promised, that we will add something which is happening today and going to change scenarios into Modi Economics 3.0 in transformation, what our future forward is to have this clarity of mind that democratization of policy making has started. It is no more the way it used to be before, that it is only somebody whose government will give and introduce you the policy. The consultation, inclusion, inclusivity of industries, inclusivity of dialogue between industry and PPP models, I think these all are very, very evident. If you look, our finance minister is speaking in the budget 2025, $1.5 trillion interest-free loan to states to do what? PPP projects of infrastructure. So the way we are changing, not only the policy, the outlay, the thought process, I am a live example of democratization of policy making, but evidence-based. We are not an owned agency by Government of India who does pilot for Government of India. Our pilots, once when they are successful, they are owned by Government of India. So the merit is what decides the future. And with this, we'll move to the next speaker. Sir, the question I have already asked you, the green steel, decarbonization and CBAM, it is going to hit a company, a very small company to a big company. You are in a very good position to answer it.
Yeah, just begin with the very talk of green steel. One industry in the world is claiming in Sweden that they are going to make a green steel plant. But if you really deep dive, you find that the power is being generated by the fall they have. And the entire power is being used to convert in the biggest reactor, hydrogen reactor, they are installing. And after that, it is same. So basically, the challenge of green steel is predominantly making green hydrogen. So the steel process, other than the smelting part, is not carbon intensive. Now, and the second point is when you are going to achieve the circular economy. You are an economy which is thinking about producing 500 million tons by 2047. That is the dream of India. This kind of moving from 150 to 500 requires use of raw material, which you have in abundance. Now, just because the world is moving towards that, we cannot say that we will produce steel only from scrap and become a decarbonized economy. So, in a sense, I have a very strong opinion that we should be working more on carbon capture and its storage than really eliminating the carbon. We have to reduce carbon usage for sure. But I don't see India in at least next 10 years getting on circular economy that your requirement of every year steel is coming through scrap. It won't happen. So one is to produce green power, and second is to really have a very intensive research on carbon storage, carbon capture. You see, there are certain things which is happening in the country. 5-ton carbon capture unit and is being flagged as a big achievement. But the industry, you have to look at the carbon being generated at every plant.
Right.
So you need to, and unfortunately, steel plants are very capex intensive plants. Whatever you do, it has to have. You cannot expect an unorganized person to invest that kind of money and come out with research. So, fortunately, in last 2-3 years, we find the government has come up with, say, the 457 crore, which has been now funded for hydrogen project.
Hydrogen mission.
So there are 3 projects which are already on annual, and it will be interesting to see their results.
So these will be the generation of hydrogen?
not hydrogen generation is not in steel fraternity. It is being seen by somebody else.
Yes.
But it will be using the
Green hydrogen
green
for steel.
hydrogen and going for electrical steel sort of route, so
Wonderful.
that your carbon intensity comes from presently 2.4, 5 or 6 to say 1.5 or something like that.
Interesting insight.
That's the.
Sir, I have a
Secondly,
follow-up question. Yeah, please complete.
You had mentioned about logistic. Their steel plants are doing wonderful job. The slurry pipeline, which were very in a modest way in the country, today every major ISP has some or the other plan of slurry transport. It is faster, cheaper, pollution-free, and a lot of load will be coming, reducing from railways once you are able to slurry transport iron ore. That's something which I presume that next 10 years railway will be a little bit, you say that their load will go down.
We will have conversation with railway now. But I have a follow-up question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Does not it look like we have read the question paper wrong? When we talk about climate, when we talk about environment, most of the time we have been speaking about carbon, carbon, carbon. Recently, Prime Minister has started a new program, new campaign, or you can say initiative, is Har Ghar Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. The work which a tree could do, a carbon offset or something which we want to play around with carbon, it's basically an European agenda and tantrum which has been thrown on India, that you make carbon credit, carbon exchange, this, that. But the work which a tree can do, and I'm pleased to quote it from Chanakya's Arthashastra, that he clearly mentioned in the first environmental rule book into Arthashastra that one community which is growing to a different population, a bigger population, must not cut trees. If they want to use trees for a lifetime of their population, they must grow new trees and then they should use it. We lost that wisdom that we used to have. India is in 12,000 years civilization, and we have lived with nature, we have lived with everything around, and we have worshipped each one of them for more than 7,000 years. Then this Arthashastra came into very recent years. So, do you think now we are somewhere, should think more of what our Prime Minister have said, or we should think more of talking about green and work?
As far as PSUs are concerned, I tell you, tree plantation is something which is on very strong agenda of each and every PSU. At least with my own hand in last 10 years I must have planted 30 trees.
Wow,
So,
clap to you.
So that's something very strongly, and I'm
So
not
we should
telling
all
about-
have a score like this. I have planted 15 trees, I have planted 30 trees.
But I tell you, in all public sector,
Right.
we keep on meeting people. This is something which is happening very strong way. We have some land also for that matter, and,
Right.
and we are utilizing it to the best practices. Yes, we have to go back. Everybody is going India way, so we have to just turn back and pick up the right things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll move to Indian Railways, Jha sir, and I'm going to ask you a question which is beyond India. Is because you have developed a competence in India and you have proven to be very, very effective. How and when India would be in position to give a technology product solution and overall solving a problem of transit from one place to another place to countries who want railification and electrification, or electrification of highways, or some sort of mobility and multi-modal logistic? Your take, sir.
Yeah, it's a very good question. See, giving a timeline is little futuristic. I'll be happy to share with you that it is actually happening.
Wow.
Yeah. So, if I take example of few PSUs, say RITES and IRCON, they are present in more than 40 countries, supplying rolling stock, laying tracks, making bridges, and doing electrification. If I take example of my own railway, Konkan Railway, we have supplied rolling stock to few countries. We are doing track maintenance in African countries. Now, demand of entire electrification of 1,000 kilometers already come to us. So saying that when the countries abroad are going to ask us to do that, we have already surpassed that. Yes, presently, Middle East and African countries and Latin American countries are demanding India's PSUs in rail sector to supply them rolling stock, to lay their tracks, to run their metros, and do electrification in their countries. I'll just share one small example of Argentina, which I recently visited.
Just a 1 second pause. We have a speaker had to go. We just want to facilitate him and then we'll continue with the conversation.
Yes.
Sanjeev sir, please join us back. Sanjeev sir, please come and you have to facilitate. Clap.
Yeah, so with your permission, I'll reframe my answer once again for the benefit of audience. His question was that when is India going to lead in the railway sector in countries abroad? I was sharing that there are three major organizations, RITES, IRCON, RVNL, and now Konkan Railway. We are present in more than 40 countries already. First for survey, then for laying of rails and making bridges, and now for electrification and supply and operation and maintenance of the rolling stock. The target countries today are African countries, Latin American countries, and Middle East. And one sea change has happened in the last 5 years, that the continents that I have just mentioned are fed up of Chinese companies. They very openly say that we want Indian companies to be present here. So that era has gone. That when will it happen? It has already started happening. In next 5 years, you will see that most of the African countries will have Indian companies already operating, constructing, and maintaining their railways.
I have already promised my audience that you are going to take away a lot of things from here, which you have never expected. We are not making highways in India only. We are making corridors internationally. I told you about one corridor, India, Middle East, European corridor. Before, I also have a follow-up question with you. I want you to stay with me. 2 more corridors I'm going to share is B3, Bhutan, Bodoland and Bangladesh. Hilli, Mahendragarh. These are those economic corridors which make our power more to keep the eastern part of India. Geopolitical situation is very, very known to you. Everything आप अपने मैप के चारों तरफ देख लीजिए. पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, भूटान, Myanmar, Nepal or Sri Lanka. All of them, there are some sort of crisis going on there. Lot of European funding, lot of interferences. Sometimes also they enter into India and they start accusing SEBI, SECI, that you are doing this wrong, that wrong. This is all global narrative to make the growth of India's continent and India's economic ascendance distracted and disturbed. And when we have to keep it intact, these economic corridor plays a very, very important role. Recently, when the plan of railway survey and all, elevation plans and everything was submitted to Bangladesh, to start working on that corridor, there was an unrest started in Bangladesh. You all know about it. When we announced India-European Middle East Economic Corridor in 2023, September, G20 here in Delhi, what happened in October? Gaza. So geopolitically, all of these are not sequences and coincidences. We are living in a world where we have to keep our eyes open. We have to know what we are talking about, what is important for us. And on this, the work that National Highway and their PSUs are doing and the railway to submit plans and be ready to deliver such kind of magnificent architecture are commendable. Sir, your views on this?
I'll give three small examples that will perhaps cover his question. Audience will be surprised that a country like Israel gave us order to lay track in their country. Indian company, Konkan Railways. I was quite surprised because one small delegation had come to ministry. We gave our presentation, and then we were invited to visit their country when Israel-Hamas war was
Happening.
on peak.
Peak.
We went. You'll be surprised that Tel Aviv was as safe as if nothing was happening around it. And then we got the order. I asked him why Indian companies. Our reliability of manpower and technology is so high, which was quite a pleasant surprise to me, that they said, we want you only to operate here. And if you complete this small portion of track, we'll give you a bigger business. Same thing happened in Nigeria. Similar thing happened in Latin American Argentina. They want us to build entire metro for them, one full leg of metro of 100 kilometers. So if I say that geopolitical situation is one, today India has emerged as a global leader, and there are certain areas like IT. There is no other country which competes with us. That is one. Second is rail infrastructure. Now, with the speed that Gadkari ji is working, highway contracts are coming to Indian companies. In fact, NHAI is my JV partner. Railtel is my JV partner. BEML is my JV partner. So what I see that operation and maintenance of rolling stock, creating infrastructure like railways or highways, and giving IT solutions. And now you must be reading a lot in the newspapers that now we are supplying a lot of Vande Bharat trains to several countries. It has a different wing now in RCF and ICF that is supplying those train sets to them. And Vande Bharat is changing the face of rail operations in India as well. So it is a reality now. It is not in the books. All the public sector undertakings of rail sector are flooded with work orders, including Konkan Railway. So instead of giving one small sector, I thought that it will encompass all the questions that you asked as far as rail infrastructure and operations are concerned. In fact, operations and maintenance, you'll be surprised, most of the African countries want us to operate their rail. Operations means taking over entire operations, including their control offices. So that is the kind of expertise we have. When I was a probationer, I'm talking about 25 years back, rather 28 years back, one Japanese team had come to Mumbai. And at that time, entire train controlling of Suburban, when at that time we were running almost 650 services. Today, there are 2,400 services. All controlling was done manually on a paper with a pencil. I invite you, come to Mumbai and see the Mumbai control. It is as good as a Japanese control or a Korean control or a US control. So that is the level that we have reached. And therefore, there is no dearth of receiving orders. And yes, there are certain geopolitical situations, but business countries are very professional. They have separated their business from these, except few countries I don't want to name. Yes.
Sir, I did not wanted to interrupt you and complete your conversation because it's sounding like a music to me. 10 years back, 2014-13 basically, when I left my job to join Prime Minister's Citizen for Accountable Governance, that time my corporate counterparts, they asked me a very simple question. Abhijit, you are living a well-paid, highly paid job. You may not have read about me, but I'm a little bit media shy. Prashant Kishore, you must have heard about it. So they asked me a very simple question, why are you leaving a very well-established job? There is no future into this campaigning and all. What you will do with a campaign after this politician, they run and they win election, they forget everything. I given him only one answer and I want to share it because this is what I'm listening after 10 years. This is why we left job for, is when that time we used to hear that there is a technology into Japan and America and Germany and Sweden and Finland, and somebody even have a zeal to bring that technology in India to implement on ground, the system was very, very, change resistance. It was not adopting the technology, and most of the time we hear a very, normal sa conclusion कि ठीक तो है लेकिन यहाँ के लिए सही नहीं है, यहाँ पे नहीं चलेगा. That has changed now from then to now in last 10 years, that today if you tell me that this happens, my team recently went to France and Bern and Moons to see the strap charging, which is on the ground. It's a 2.5 inch thick strap, which Israel has prototyped and France has also prototyped, where you need a very small battery. Your dependency on China would be zero. You have lithium ion in Kashmir. This charging is a charging on the go. There is no charging station, there is no connector, there is no charger. Vehicle are running and they are charging. What Germany has took up as an overhead wire did not work. We did trials together and we are in a successful mode of 5,000 kilometer by 2027 now, after the recent announcement of Finance Minister. Germany is dismantling the wiring that they did and proven to be once upon a time a so-called highest, biggest, world's most advanced electric corridor has now started dismantling their wire. So the work which has happened into last 10 years and the work which we are going to do now is not to be happy and satisfied with this. This is a place we are making international corridors, international positions, and that is what my follow-up question with you, sir. I'm sorry I'm taking some more time, but I have one more question with you. When we are deciding characteristics of corridors, particularly the international corridors, what are the prescriptions that you want to give to Indian PSUs to define and elevate the characteristic so that globally we become best of the bestest country who can give best rail corridor, economic corridors and freight corridors?
See, this is an era of stiff competition. Now, all of you know that even public sector undertakings are not getting work on nomination. And they are competing with big companies like Afcons, L&T, or any kind of field that you are, there are big corporate sectors. So the first mantra of such corridor is keeping your cost low, and at the same time, no compromise with the quality and technology. And one major advantage that Indian companies are doing is that, other than China, our labor is cheap, our technology production is at a cheaper rate, and that is how we are able to keep lower margins. So first thing is definitely a cost. Second is the strategic advantage to India. So I will mention one INSTC corridor. Earlier, when the ships were going to, say, Moscow via Chabahar port, etc., and up to their last city near Philippines, near, what is the city of lakes?
Venice?
No.
In Russia?
In Russia. That's the Venice of Russia. I'm forgetting, yeah. So the transit time on the sea route was 72 hours. Today the transit time is 34 hours. So that is the second advantage, that we could have bilateral relations with all these countries, and India has that strategic advantage, and we could reduce the trading, the sea route time from 72 hours to 34 hours.
So now we'll reduce to 40% more after
Yes.
India-Middle East corridor.
Yes. Similar such corridors, which I'm sure Abhijit is already working on those, which I heard in his opening speech. Similar such global corridors are being created. First, to reduce the distance by integrating the countries, and Indian companies having advantage of cost and with good, robust technology that we have at a cheaper rate. I think these two factors only decide the corridors. Of course, political willingness of these countries has to be there.
Thank you, sir. And next, I have a very saved question for you, which are the real world question. We have PSUs invested in many of the ventures, many of the, you can say, plants and units and assets. Usually, when we hear that there is a disinvestment going on, government is selling PSUs, a lot of opposition and mainstream politics happen around it. when we try to sell off something which is not making profit. And when we try to keep something which is there to make profit for us, it is also sometimes an investment into that way. I have seen PSUs going out of their, I can say, limitations in last 10 years to support transitions which are in PPP mode. Today, we have an example of IREDA and Power Corporation of India investing into a ride-hailing company which has started operation from Delhi, then Mumbai, then Bangalore and Mumbai, and has given a wonderful experience to people who were very, irritated with Olas and Ubers of the world with their poor services. Is it possible for us to look into more such partnerships of public, private and people's partnership to deliver more precise partnerships between services and capital and infrastructure with PSUs? And also, my question extends to it is whether it is, I think, Home Minister, our Honorable Home Minister has recently spoken about how new age of cab services and taxi services is going to become when these cooperative societies will start running taxis. So is it a dearth of a PSU who has invested into such startups to actually take a shape of it and a share of it and start running on a basis the way our leadership has planned, in a cooperative manner or into a new design manner? Is it difficult for them to take that such a step that we have invested and we want to support it? We do not want the initiative or the good that it came with it to die, or it is no game?
First of all, I was wondering whether the question is to NRDC or I was looking at Konkan Railways. Okay. I think what you're looking at is how can we possibly capitalize on the strength of a startup, complementing the effort of a PSU. So I am, because NRDC being a consulting company, as I told you, primarily into technology commercialization. So in the context of NRDC, I'll try and answer this particular question. The first and foremost thing is, if you look at, because the role what we perform is commercialization of the R&D or research and development which is happening, and that is happening through the capability which is available with the National Research Development Corporation, limited by its bandwidth and the strength. So now, to answer your question as to how they can complement basically a role, because if there is a public-private partnership, first of all, they need to be aligned to the functioning of the organization, and that strength possibly can come from a PSU. So give you a simple example, and I think you had earlier mentioned, one has to, as a PSU, one has to do a kind of gap analysis and to identify what are the gaps which they can, if they do not have the technical strength to solve it. Can I possibly do it with the help of, by engaging the startup ecosystem what is available with us? So identification of the problem statement and then giving it out. So what you're doing is that instead of utilizing your own in-house research and development effort, you are giving it to the startups to work on it. So it means you are de-risking your capital primarily for, with respect to giving it, offloading it or outsourcing it to the startup to give a solution. So you get supported in two ways. At the end of this entire exercise, because the startup, especially what he needs is the mentorship and primarily the financial support. So you can give both as a PSU. So at the end of this entire exercise, when they become successful, your interest also lies in the fact that they become successful. He is aligned to your problem statement. It means the solution which comes about, obviously you will be the first customer. So you can plow it back into your own system without investing in your R&D. And you have given a product for him to establish a market by itself. So it means for him to become sustainable, it is not necessarily that he's looking at the order the coming only from that particular PSU which has supported the startup. They are now free primarily to explore the market by themselves. So you have strengthened the startup ecosystem, or I would say this is a private participation, which I would call it.
Right.
which comes about through the effort of a PSU. And you have strengthened them to serve the dual purpose of utilizing their strength and also making them sustainable. So this is how I think it possibly can be done. Because today what we see is that the technology is the only way forward, which I had earlier mentioned. And this, everything is not available. And what I find is the country has got enough resource. PSUs are not tapping into that particular resource, I would call it. Because in most of the forums we talk about industry academia linkages, because that is one of the weak areas. So I would say the mantra of working out a wholesome solution for a PSU or a way forward for them is do a crystal gazing. Basically, you need to look at the future, work out what is the technology or a disruptive technology which one would need, and then engage the startup community primarily for working on those solutions, giving it to them, and then stay a step ahead.
You given me more than what I asked for. It's two very thumbnails which I also would be able to follow now. That there has to be a new relationship which you have defined, industry academia, to go beyond a PSU startup relationship. And this relationship will be able to explore possibilities of getting a technologies which is outside, which they not have developed. And when there is supporting it, it's a two-way support. The startups are also getting a support to them, and PSUs also get to have all these new age technologies. If we go beyond this, I'm overstepping my position to ask this question. Startups are not stable. They will do some regulatory thing which make them volatile to a certain extent. How does PSU can hold them to be there? What is the support that they'll be able to? That is the reason I given you the Blue Smart example, is because there are PSU's funds which are into Blue Smart. Today, newspaper that shows that all bookings has stopped and they'll not be able to operate. I have been working into electric mobility. I have seen Blue Smart growing from the beginning. I'm the one who has started the first fleet. And I do not want the initiative, the goodness, and the technology platform to die. People, promoter might have done something and it will be a part of the regulation. But where do you see that those PSUs, the Power PSU and also IREDA, they have investment in it, how they can come over and help?
The answer is simple. If you are primarily doing it as an activity of CSR with no skin in the game, it means you're not sensitive to the startup requirement. They would succeed primarily on their own effort. But if you have a skin in the game, if they're developing solutions for you, you don't want them to die. You want them to flourish primarily to see to it that they give you the solution to give you an edge as compared to your competitors. So by remaining invested technically with them, and obviously you have supported them financially during the initial stages of technology development, and you have shown them the market. Now it is obviously you have invested in a team which is going to deliver not only to you, it's a strong team which will obviously work on their own business model and flourish. So the initial stage part, when they needed both mentorship as well as financial support, you have provided. And since you were invested in them primarily for taking the output into your own system, I think that will provide that kind of confidence to a startup that my solution will certainly see the market. But if you leave it to them to ideate around a particular technology taken from one research institute, develop their own business model, and then supply them, give them only funds, that may not succeed.
So we need to go beyond this.
Certainly.
So I'm sure that with this little bit positivity can be shared, because I, speaking yesterday to Business Standard, spoken that all these highways which are coming up have to be coming with the vehicle. And definitely the Blue Smart, Green Sail, and a lot of companies who have participated 2022 and 2024, they will be getting some sort of order. Revealing this today when we had this conversation, I'm sure that this is a platform and this is a position and time when a good thing which gives a clarity and also a good service to people should be continued. No matter how and where it will be able to do, whatever we'll be able to do, we'll definitely be able to do. And particularly in the vision of what our Honorable Minister of Home has said, that in the segment of mobility, lot of government, non-government, PSUs, and also the cooperatives will be coming, and we will be able to give not only it as an opportunity for employment, but also an opportunity to scale beyond metros. So right now, if you'll see cab services only into metros. We want to go up to states and provide cab services, and a lot of people working into it. It will only be possible when we will have cooperative federal structure. So with this, I'm reaching to the last speaker of the conversation. I'm not going to ask you a question. I want you to give me a feedback, honest feedback, is that over a period of time, how you have seen ease of doing business going from different level of license Raj to something which PSUs require, and sometime also corporate and PPP mode projects required.
I think lots of changes happened in the last 10 to 11 years. Previously, nobody knows much about the PSUs and all. But I think in recent times, in last 10 years or 12 years, PSUs is very active and they are playing a very important role. PSUs usually not for the profit. They are meant for the development of the nation. And they are practically they are doing. So these are the changes which I am seeing, and we are working with the PSUs, and the kind of response and the kind of ease of doing business we are getting is phenomenal.
Thank you, sir. With this, we have reached to the overshooting of 10 minutes beyond the time. Wonderful conversation, wonderful inputs and insights which has came. I missed one thing to say and which I promised. We will be talking about climate financing and blended financing, which we did not spoke, any of us. So let's not talk, let's enter into the action. We have recently opened a 500 crore rupees blended climate financing instrument, which is a viability gap funding for electric trucks to be operated and to be purchased. I want all my speakers to join me to release the instrument.